We have heard a lot lately from VP Harris and former President Donald Trump about how they plan to boost the economy. But right now, I want you to listen to something Donald Trump said over the weekend.
We will keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency, and it is currently under major siege. Many countries are leaving the dollar. They're not going to leave the dollar with me. I'll say, you leave the dollar. You're not doing business with the United States because we're going to put 100% tariff on your goods.
100% tariffs on countries leaving the U.S. dollar. Sounds good? Sounds tough? Okay, we're going to need to get into what that would really mean for the United States, and you're in luck. I brought in my old friend, the perfect person to discuss it with. Brendan Greeley, contributing editor at the Financial Times. All right, Mr. Greeley, scores of economists, professional investors have said over and over that Donald Trump's tariffs plan would be a complete disaster. And I want to remind our audience what a tariff is, because it's essentially a tax on consumers. Inflation is already a problem for Americans. Can you explain why tariffs would make life a whole lot more expensive here?
Well, they do two things. We buy a lot of things from abroad. So if you raise prices on things from abroad, you're going to raise prices on a lot of the things that we buy. But the other problem is, Donald Trump has talked a lot over the last 8 years, and you and I have talked a lot about this over the last 8 years, about encouraging American manufacturing. If we do that, one of the things you can do is to raise tariffs, right? We don't buy things abroad, we buy them here. If you put up 100% tariff barrier, the first thing that's going to happen is people are going to be desperately trying to produce things here that they can't buy from abroad, and that's going to cause all the supply chain dislocations that you saw under COVID. There is no plan that sort of magically and awesomely makes things better with one single weird trick, and that's what the tariffs are. They're this one weird trick that's going to make everything better. Since he said this thing about the dollar this afternoon, and we can get into it, I've been trying to diagram it on a piece of paper how it's going to work. I can't come up with the answer.
I would say two things. The CHIPS Act and other moves by the Biden administration are making moves to bring manufacturing and jobs back to the United States. Talking about tariffs is great on a rally stage because it makes people feel like USA, USA. And those same people chanting USA, USA have 6 Amazon boxes waiting for them outside their front door. And when you actually think about how this works, it's complicated. But what I keep hearing from some big Wall Street Republicans is that don't worry about the tariffs. Donald Trump is not being serious. It's all talk. It will never happen. Why would anyone think it's not going to happen? The two things he has been saying for the last 2 years when it comes to policies are mass deportations and tariffs. So how on earth could anybody say, oh, it's never going to happen?
Well, he changed trade policy once. To his credit, he figured out during the election 2016 that a lot of Americans were angry about trade and they had not had a voice. So he said, I'm going to fight a trade war. And he did exactly what he said he was going to do. Now, I have a lot of issues that you and I have talked about over the years about exactly how he prosecuted that trade war. The Chinese really figured out that the easiest way to get to him was to say, well, we're not going to buy any soybeans anymore. That's the only thing we really sell to China. Turns out we grow those things in the upper Midwest, which Trump needed politically. It's very difficult to sort of get out there and say, USA, USA, we're going to fight a trade war and win it, particularly the way he went about it. But the thing is, he did do that. He said he was going to do it, and he did do it. And he doesn't really seem interested in the niceties of how you manage the dollar. Look, the thing that I'm wondering is, does he want a strong dollar or does he want a weak dollar? Because in 2017, Stephen Mnuchin, who was then his Treasury Secretary, went to Davos and casually told a bunch of financiers that he was thinking about maybe lowering the value of the U.S. dollar. It wasn't that important.
Hold on, Brendan Greeley. Do you actually believe that Donald Trump knows the difference between what a strong dollar and a weak dollar even means? Like, I'm being dead serious. I know he likes the idea, we're going to have a strong dollar, because it sounds strong, but let's actually talk monetary policy. Do you think if Donald Trump were sitting here across from me, we talk strong dollar versus weak dollar, he could get into it? Honestly.
I don't know about strong dollar, weak dollar. I have been shocked over the last 8 years how much he knows about the Fed because he's a man who deals in debt. And anybody who deals in as much debt as Donald Trump does privately understands what drives the price of debt. I do think that this incoherence that we have about the strong dollar and the weak dollar, somebody's going to have to solve it. There are consequences to having a strong dollar. It's super awesome that we can buy things abroad cheaply. It's super awesome that when wealthy Americans go on vacation abroad, they can buy things cheaply. But it's really bad for American manufacturing. But this thing that he's proposing, that ain't it.